Cameroonians have reacted differently to his message with so many calls for peace coming from different quarters. Others even advocating for the holding of an all-Anglophone conference. One of such calls for peace came from Professor Willibrod Zengwa, who has written an open letter to His Excellency President Paul Biya and the leadership of Anglophone movements following the apostolic visits of His Holiness Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon. A call for reciprocal concessions and the immediate opening of an inclusive dialogue in Cameroon. We are going to be focusing on that open letter address to both sides involved in the ongoing conflict affecting the southwest and northwest regions. Tonight, with panelists who are with me in the studio. Good evening, televiewers, and welcome to the first edition of Prime Hour for this week. We are going to be discussing on this edition of the program with Dr. Ndimancho Michael, who is a lecturer with some universities in Cameroon. Good evening, Doctor. We're glad to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mr. Kum, with all the other panelists, and of course to extend my heartfelt sympathy to all those who lost or who got affected by what happened in Jakiri and in Boy Division, of course, and generally. We have saying that it is one more death, and it's one more death too much to get in our community at the point where, as you say, the Pope just left Cameroon and it's throwing the dove, which a dove is a symbol of peace. The dove is a symbol of love. The dove is a symbol of hope, and that if that dove is wasted, then I think that we still have a long way to go. We continue to pray for peace and to pray that all those who are in the position of bringing people together and sowing peace, they should do that. Thank you.
Also with us is Mosoke Lucas Alyonga, who is a modern nation builder and USDP candidate for the position of mayor in Boya, chieftain of chieftain of the southwest region. We are glad to have you coming all the way from Boya this evening. Good evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Liu. I'm so happy to be here. I think it's a nice topic and we'll be able to discuss. But I also wish to extend my condolence to all those who have lost their lives throughout this conflict. It has been a very painful time for Cameroonian families who have lost their loved ones and many that have displaced themselves from one part of the country to the other. Many Cameroonians have lost properties and so on. So it's not really a good thing. And I think the earlier this issue comes to an end, the better for us so that we can pursue life peacefully. Thank you.
Okay, Prince Joel Mukaga is also part of tonight's edition of the program. He's a journalist coming fresh from Messager, the land of milk and honey. Good evening, Prince. We're glad to have you.
Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and good evening to my co-panelists. You rightly said that I'm coming freshly from Messager, the land of milk and honey. We spent close to 60 days in Messager, that's 2 months, and we took time to tap different opinions of the people. We also took time to discover that my media prime is one of those channels in the subdivision that is highly watched. I'm sending special greetings to the Messager people, and most particularly to Professor Fokalisus Gentry, who is the Minister of Mines Industries and Technological Development, who is in Bedwa as we speak, because he went there. There are people who are engaged in illegal practices in Cameroon. When individuals engage in the exploitation of mines, he is always there to ensure that let the rule of the law take its place. And that is why today, His Excellency Professor Fokalisus Gentry was in Bedwa today to ensure that companies that are operating illegally or groups that are exploiting mines illegally should be stopped. Thank you immensely for having me on your program, Mr. Liu. The topic you have in hand is a very good one because the Pope came with a message of peace. I remember the Pope said, I proclaim peace in Cameroon in less than 10 days. 10 days exactly, rather, not less than 10 days, because today is the 16th, or rather the 26th of April, and the Pope was in Bamenda on the 16th of April. So 10 days after the Pope left, yesterday we witnessed something that is, I don't know how to describe it. I think it's inhumane. You will not go because you want to look for one individual, according to sources, that you want to look for an individual who is a separatist fighter, and at the end of the day, a group of persons, no less than 14, are gunned down. I think that William Blackstone once said that if more than 10 people who are guilty should escape for one innocent man to survive, then let 10 persons who are guilty better escape. Thank you for having me on your program, Mr. Liu.
Okay, we are starting with you, Dr. Michael Ndimancho. Open letter to His Excellency President Paul Biya and the leadership of Anglophone movements following the apostolic visit of His Holiness Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon, a call for reciprocal concessions and immediate opening of inclusive dialogue. Professor Willie Brot Zengwa wrote this letter last week. Do we need many more of such letters, Dr. Ndimancho?
Of course, we need to keep talking. Remember that one of the reasons why we hailed the coming of the Pope in Cameroon was the fact that the Pope, being a world leader, a respected person, of course, one of the first personality in the world where many people focus their attention, and that we thought that when the Pope comes to Cameroon, and especially and particularly to the Anglophone region, focus is going to be on the issue of the crisis in the Anglophone region, because we have the impression that the crisis is underreported, and therefore with the Supreme Pontiff coming, with all the journalists, the media focus on the Anglophone crisis, they were going to capture the highlights of the Pope's visit, and that was the speech that the Pope made. And of course, you will know that we need to keep talking. And if Professor Willie Brot actually comes out like that, it is just collaborating with what the Pope did, and that we need to start shaming those who are too hard-hearted and who don't want to be flexible in the issues of negotiation, the issues of dialogue, the issues of peace. And you also understand that a few days ago, it is Bishop Kia who openly said there are a lot of people from both sides who are benefiting from the crisis, and that is why they do not want the crisis to end. And therefore, bringing a voice of the civil society to that of the religious leaders, we think that we need many more voices as such. And this should be a narrative that other people should weigh in. He is an academia. I will have even been advocating that other academia should weigh in, should weigh in, that this is somebody who has started a narrative, because the Anglophone crisis came to be something that people are afraid to talk about. And therefore, if you have a colleague like him, like the Dawson Academia, who talked about it, I think all the others should follow suit and be able to shame this. Because, like someone said, staying quiet in the face of injustices, in the face of torture, in the face of crisis, in the face of racism, is collaborating the injustice. They're collaborating all those. And therefore, we need to speak out, and everybody needs to speak out. Now that there is somebody, a figure like Prof who has spoken, I think too the media should intensify, the civil society should intensify, the academia should intensify, the politicians should intensify, and it is important, given to the fact that the Pope's letter, what the Pope made his address in Bamenda, he was very, very open and vocal, and he was categorical about the issue of this crisis. And you know, one of the things he talked about was about the sponsorship of the war, that there are a lot of money being spent in sponsoring war, and a little is being spent on development. And therefore, it is time for all of us to shame all of those who are benefiting from both sides, and they are sponsoring what we call a war economy. A lot of people are making a lot from this war, and it is time that we start unveiling. We start, bringing these people to the limelight and shaming them, because we have lost so much in this crisis. I must say that talk about losses, it is something important to talk about. In terms of education, we have lost a lot. In terms of economy, we have lost a lot. In terms of health, we have lost a lot. Remember, it was a few days ago, there was a photo that was viral on the internet, on social media, about the transfer of a hospital in Shizong to Soa. These are some of the losses that we are ignoring. And just immediately after that, there was the SEAL, the Summer Institute for Linguistics, and which people are ignoring the kind of assistant that this was. People didn't know the assistant of the SEAL. The SEAL, they were running even a helicopter that transported people from one side to the other. So we are ignoring this. It is when we must have lost everything that we will begin now to have ourselves to start blaming. And I am asking myself, when all will have crumbled, what else are we going to fight for?
Okay, Mr. Musoke, we are talking about what the Professor Willibrod Adzengwa has said. But before that, immediately the Pope left Cameroon. There is a viral interview granted by the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Bamenda, who said very clearly that there are persons on both sides who would not want to see this conflict end because they are benefiting enormously from it. You buy what he said?
I actually did not buy that allegation.
Okay.
I don't think that there are persons on both sides who are stronger than the government.
Who are benefiting?
Yes. That's why I'm saying that I don't believe that there are people on both sides that are stronger than the government. I will explain why I said so. Because I believe that if we talk about benefiting from a war or the crisis or the conflict that we find ourselves into today, it's because the government has not actually desired to make sure that this conflict comes to an end.
Okay.
So it's all the fault will go back to the government. It will not go back to any individuals. And maybe I'll be explaining some of these things later on. The government takes all the blame. If some persons, in quote, are benefiting, it's because the government wants them to benefit. And the government knows that people are benefiting, and the government itself is benefiting from the ongoing conflict, because they have used this conflict to be able to get a lot of loans, to be able to get a lot of aid and grants from foreign bodies because of this ongoing conflict. So the government itself is the primary figure that does not want to see this conflict come to an end. And that is why we are saying that we hope that with the visit of the Pope and the other things that will be coming up, that this conflict will come to an end. People always take advantage of loopholes. If there are loopholes, people take advantage. And you cannot blame them when there is a primary figure that can block all those loopholes and have refused to block the loopholes. Human beings are fighting to survive. So if they have opportunities, they will exploit it. So you, who is the primary controller, who knows that there are loopholes, and you even know some of those loopholes, if you don't close them, people will exploit them. And you cannot blame the people who are exploiting those loopholes, because they too wish to survive. So nevertheless, I'm not like supporting persons that are actually not desiring to see this conflict come to an end. But I'm saying that the primary figure, that is the government, knows all what is happening. And if they don't want to see that this conflict come to an end, then Cameroonians will keep on suffering. And that is why we'll be able to give some proposals to government so that they can make sure that this thing comes to an end.
Okay.
And I also believe strongly that with the visit of the Pope and many other pronouncements, I think that things will surely change thereafter. People should not be too quick to think that things will not change. The visit of the Pope is a paramount issue that has happened in Cameroon, and it's going to be followed up in many ways.
Okay,
and we are sure the government will surely come to that table so that this thing should finally be discussed. Thank you.
Yeah, but in this letter, when Professor Willibrod Adzengwa says that an open letter to His Excellency President Paul Biya, I was also going to ask this question to you, Dr. Ndimancho, and leadership of Anglophone movement. Who is he, according to you, describing as leadership of Anglophone movement? No, yes. He comes and then you come in.
Yes, I think there is only one leadership of Anglophone movement, and the leadership is in prison. The leadership that was arrested and is in prison. And that is why from the day that this leadership was arrested and put in prison, up till date, we've not had any stable leadership. We have individuals that have come up and say they are leaders.
Yeah, that's what you say, but I'm not sure Sako would agree with you. I'm not sure Chris Anu will agree with you because he considers himself a president. You have Asako who considers himself a president. You have Iya Marianta who considers herself a president. And we have other...
Yes, that is why I'm saying that leadership is tested with time. Time have proven all of them not to be leaders.
Okay.
Yes, time have proven all of them not to be leaders. They surfaced and people thought they were leaders. But time have proven them wrong. That they were not and they are not leaders. Because leaders are those people who take a course and take it right to the end. And the people that are in prison, the momentum that they mounted while they were still out, everybody fell behind them. But you see that the other purposes of figures that came up, they made the whole thing to be fragmented. And now you have blocks and fragments and different fragments that are everywhere. So there is no leader again in the ongoing Anglophone conflict. There is no leader. There are individuals who claim to be leaders, and confusion has set in. That's why you have many other purposes. So the true legitimate leaders of the ongoing conflict are in prison. And we will be talking on that. They must participate in the dialogue. If there is going to be a genuine dialogue, they must participate. Because people actually respect them. Even though they are still in prison, people are still calling their names. People still give them the honor, the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, but Prince, is it not also an issue where some persons would be confused as to who to give that honor to be true leadership of Anglophones? Because Professor Willibrod Zengwa says, I'm writing to the government, His Excellency President Paul Biya, but also to the leadership of Anglophone movements following the apostolic visit. Yes, who can today stand as leadership for the Anglophone movements?
Mr. Liu, thank you immensely. I want to say that Professor Wilbrod Zengwa is someone I have a lot of respect for. I've watched him, I've listened to him, and I think during your book launch, I met him one-on-one, and I listened to him. And Professor Wilbrod is one of those people at one time, if your memory is still fresh, Mr. Liu, Professor Wilbrod is one of those people that a commission was created in this country that historians came together, amongst them Professor Wilbrod and people like the professor in the University of Boya, he was also part. And these are the people who came together, and the objective was to rewrite, to look at the history and present the history to the presidency. Till date, we're asking ourselves what has become of it. But that aside, I think, Mr. Liu, that Professor Wilbrod Zengwa, in his letter, made a quote. He quoted the Supreme Pontiff, where he said, peace requires courage, humility, and concrete actions from both sides. He didn't say one side. For you to talk about peace, you need to be courageous. Because if you've committed an action that is not good, you may not have that courage to move up to another person. Very few people can say sorry, Mr. Liu. Very few people can be humble enough to move up to another one they've offended. That is where the Supreme Pontiff talked about. I think the Supreme Pontiff also talked about concrete actions from both sides. And this is now where Professor Wilbrod says that there is a government. The government in this place is President Paul Biya. If you are going to the dialogue table, I'm quoting what Professor Wilbrod said, quoting the Supreme Pontiff, who is a Pope, you will discover that he's talking about humility from both sides. He did not say that the government is upper and the other hand is lower. Now, talking about the other hand, we are talking about the Anglophone movement. There is this problem. Who to talk to? But now, like Mr. Lyunga said, I think that there is a handful of some individuals who are already in Kondenge, like Sisiko and Co., and there are others who are in the diaspora. Mr. Liu, we want to see what has been happening with some of those who are in the diaspora. We saw what happened with one of them in Norway. We saw what is happening with Eric Tato, who risks a 30-year jail term for bank fraud. Now, there is this aspect of who to actually talk to, which you raise, because there are a lot of camps. There are a lot of camps, which is true, who does the government go to? I think that in 2019, during the major national dialogue, there was this aspect of extending a hand for people to come. A few came. But now, many persons felt that if they come, it was like a kind of a way to waylay them to Cameroon and get them arrested. And many were saying, which I also buy their idea, that next door Kondengida is not far from the Congress Hall where the major national dialogue took place. You have Sisiko Julius Ayutabe, who is with you. You have other leaders who are with you. The Mancho BBCs who are with you. Why not just bring them down? The Tasang Ivo and the other. The Tasang Oliver, rather. Why not just bring them down to the conference hall and say, okay, what do you guys actually want? Because Mr. Leo, the Supreme Pontiff said, and I think he just summarized the whole problem. If you want peace, you need to be courageous. Courage means, Mr. Leo, very few people can apologize even to their biological children. I think that if you offend even your child you gave birth to, you should look up to that child and tell the child, Prince Joel, you're my son. I thought that you were wrong. But at one moment I discovered that you also had a point. But if you keep the bossy nature of, I am your father, I paid your fees, I am this, because that's the stance of the government, it brings problem. We also need to have concrete actions that comes from both areas, both angles. The government will tell you that they already initiated a major national dialogue. But now when you read the open letter from Professor Wilbert Zengwa, the Prof is saying here that there should be an open dialogue, because it talks about reciprocal concession. Conceding means I've accepted defeat. It means that from both ends, let both ends say that, okay, at one time we made a mistake. I'm wrong as a government to have said that. There is no Anglophone problem. That's accepting too. Now the other camp, which is the Anglophone movement, should also be able to accept that from 2016 to 2026, which is exactly 10 years, we have stopped children from going to school. We have stopped the economy from booming. We have kidnapped people. We have killed people, like what we saw in Gidado. I just left Misaje, and on the way, there is a special kind of a gendarmerie post. Artificial post has been created in Gidado. This was created just because of what happened there. Let's look at what happened in Jakiri recently. So when we look at all these things, Mr. Liu, I think that Prof is calling to the consciences of both persons. Let us accept and admit, not that only me did wrong. The government did wrong, we are sorry. Now, the other hand, the people who did wrong, we are sorry. They now meet on a dialogue table. But if one person have a bossy attitude, Mr. Liu, we will still be waiting for another pope, or maybe the visit of another pope.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Ndimacho, what is the problem when Professor Wilibert Zengwa says it is time for concessions to be made? Have we not seen concessions made so far? What practical concessions is he talking about? Because it's, yeah.
Remember, Mr. Leo, there is a reason why we had the Anglophone crisis. And I must say, even though we have shifted away, the principal figures, of course, they have, let me say, absconded from that principal, reasons why we had the Anglophone crisis, the reason why we had the talks and all of those people who have taken over the thing. But then the problem still remains rooted. It means that what? Even today, those who are agitating in the bushes, because now those who are agitating are just people who are opportunists. Even today, if the government goes and kills all of them, remember this is an ideological problem, and you don't kill an ideology. An ideological problem or the fact that we knew why there was an uprising in 2016. Remember, 2016 was just a brainchild of something that has started. We ran a program here on, I talked about the issue of 1993 where we had the AAC1. And I reminded people about the resolutions of the AAC1, whereby when we talk about AAC1, we're talking about an all-Anglophone conference. And the resolution of that conference was that there should be a return to federalism. Now, in 1994, there was a follow-up to that conference in 1993, and we called that conference AAC2, or Anglophone Conference 2, which was held in Bamenda. And that was to reinforce the resolutions of AAC 1. And remember, there is a clause in that resolution which said, if the government doesn't adhere to what the decision that were taken in AAC 1 and AAC 2, then the issue is going to escalate. And before long, in 2016, we had the escalation. And the escalation had reasons. Why? Because people had placards. People had reasons why. When we look at the lawyers, we know exactly why lawyers went out. When we look at the teachers, we know exactly why teachers went out. These are, the intelligentsia of the community. And when they speak, nobody should stay indifferent to what they are revendicating. When the teachers speak, the teachers, I'm talking about teachers here, when they speak and they get up and they are killed, wounded, many are wounded, many run away. When they speak, listen to them. Because like Nelson Mandela said, if you want to destroy a nation, you don't need to give them guns. You give them what? It's just a pen. That is it. Guns do not even destroy a nation. So when we're talking about teachers here, that they had reasons why we went out and they appealed to the government and said, this is what we want. Our educational system should be guarded. And the lawyer said their own legal system should be guarded. And then you don't listen to them. And now the civil society now come in and they say, this is actually what we want. And we have known that we have always asked our teams to this kind of strikes and revendication. Remember how the GC board was gotten and many other things. They were gotten through this. And instead of listening to us at that particular way, in that way, and then you think that there is a way of pushing people back, there is what we call suppressed emotions. When a child keeps crying every day, keeps crying, and you are beating, you beat the child every day, beat the child every day, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. What you are doing, you are not helping any situation. What you are doing is you are suppressing the emotion of the child. And at one moment, when that emotion explodes, you cannot contain it. So it means that what? When Prof writes this, Prof writes this, he knows exactly, because there is a start point, there is a point, there is actually something you can hang on that somebody knows. And when we talk about concessions, it is talking about the issue, and we're expecting to do in the dialogue. Are we saying that we're going to have dialogue 1 and 2 too? If we're going to have dialogue 2, that's fine. Concessions now will be the what? Instead of forcing into the people what you think is you work for them, when it's not working, admit that these people have a point. Instead, because we see that the government has forced a lot of things. We talked about going back to a federation. The government said, no, we want decentralization. And the people said, this is not the name we want. We want better name that we know very well. And the second thing, we have talked about issues like, the issues of the vice president we are talking about now. These are things that we knew. But now it was not the way it is being practiced now. Now it's being appointed. At first we knew that the vice president was voted. Now, a lot of issues that are actually, enveloped in this revendication, and the government needs to sit down and say, my child, you have spoken, I have listened to you. Can we now sit down and talk? Because Cameroon is called the Republic of Cameroon. And a republic is like an apartment, whereby you have the parents, you have the children, and each child has his room in that apartment. And each child has his own outlet where he can go out. Each child has his own say in that apartment. In a republic, everybody, words are received, even if it is not going to be acted on. Everybody's revendication, everybody's opinion is received, even if it is not going to be acted on, and is received in a fatherly and a good manner. The government just needs to come back and say, yes, after all this while, we have listened to you. Come now, let us sit and be able to talk around on the table of peace, as the Pope came and said, the table of negotiation, the table of dialogue, the table of hope, and the table of reconstruction, Mr. Kum.
Okay. Now, can peace truly begin if one side takes the first step? It must, or must both sides act simultaneously, as the professor suggests?
Yes, Mr. Leo, to be very honest, personally I've studied and did a lot of research on this Anglophone conflict. looking right back to 1960, 61, right up to date. And when this conflict, when this issue erupted, I think that the Anglophones have not done themselves good, and this is what we wish to propose.
Okay.
It will be very difficult for the government to sit down with the separatists, because the separatists are very scattered and disorganized. What could help today is for the Anglophone community to form a force, to form a leadership, to dialogue with government, bringing forth what they want. What happened from 1961 to date, what these two entities came together, because I feel so disappointed with the government when two equal entities came together, then one is being treated as though they should beg. No! These are two equal entities. Let's actually speak the truth and let's look for a solution. These are two equal entities that came together. And they need to have equal share of everything that is called government. You cannot come and join somebody and the person is making as though he is more important or more superior than you, when you people had equal status. This is a faction that had its government, had its parliament, had everything. And they have come to join with you because they were not given a third option.
So they were under a trusteeship.
Yes, trusteeship. And they have come and they have accepted with a good mind that let's join with our brothers. Then you turn around, change the constitution, turn around, make it to become one unit. And then even in that one unit, which is important.
Is it a separate Francophone government which decided to make these changes, or it was a government of Ahijo, including the Estimunas who are Anglophones, the Estimunas, the John Gufonchas, the Joas, they were part of the government?
No,
because you give the impression that, okay, there was a Francophone government that has been fixing constitution, changing this and that and that. As we speak today, we have Francophones and Anglophones in government. So it is that government that is making the changes and not necessarily a Francophones doing this.
Mr. Leo, the United Nations was wise from the beginning. That is why they said that the form of the state should not be tampered with. That was a very strong, because the United Nations knew that this side is a minority side and this other side is a majority.
Was it the United Nations, or it was a constitution that was worked upon by Cameroonians?
No, the UN was the brain behind all what went on. The UN, France, and the UK, they worked on that.
On the constitution?
Yes, they worked on the constitution. They worked on this constitution.
And gave Foncha to carry Ahijo to carry to Fumban?
They were not. You might have not seen them physically, but they participated. There's what we call the hidden hands. They participated. They knew what was going to Fumban. They had seen it. They had gone through, and they were sure that this can help.
Okay.
So that clause was the principal clause, which means that these people should stay in the form of federation, so that their own identities should be safeguarded.
Okay, we move from there. We are where we are today.
Yes. So we are where we are today. So the easiest way forward is for the Anglophone communities to come together. Call it whether it's AAC or whatsoever name. The Anglophone community has to come together as a force, as a unit together, and put their heads together as to what they want.
Okay, we talk
this one now will be what they will put forward as a strong force to the government, and give government very strong conditions, which if not fulfilled, they take the action as a people, because it will be a little bit difficult for a fragmented separatist movement, which is so fragmented and disorganized, to come and claim that they will have a dialogue with the government in place. It will be very difficult. It may take us so much time. But the Anglophones as a people...
Are you talking about separatists, or are you talking about Anglophones?
I am saying that there is a group called separatists, which is the group fighting
Yeah.
I am saying that there is a difficulty to be able to regroup them because they have formed a lot of factions that don't want to even see themselves. So the easiest solution should come from the Anglophone persons themselves who are probably not part of the separatist movement. The government, the parliamentarians, the lay people, and the rest that are Anglophones. They need to have a meeting.
Okay.
In this meeting, they'll be able to come up with what they want the government to do to bring this thing to an end. And this now is a people talking. It's not one man sending his mail or the other person sending and the rest. Government will still minimize. If a people, the Anglophone, come back together, they say, government, this is why we came together. We need this now. If you don't want it, then we take our decision or something else. Because there is a difficulty to regroup the separatists that are now so fragmented.
Okay, let's get
for a dialogue.
Let's get to the letter. It says peace cannot emerge where trust is absent, and trust cannot be built without reciprocal gestures. I therefore respectfully urge the following parallel steps. From the state, the implementation of meaningful confidence-building measures, including the release, pardon, and judicial review of detainees linked to the crisis, and the formal initiation of an inclusive and transparent dialogue process. This is what Professor Willibrod Zengwa expects from the government.
Prof is correct. Perfectly correct. He's talking about building trust. Building trust is, you know, one of the reasons that people felt that the major national dialogue failed upon birth was because those who were kept to man the different 8 commissions that took place during the major national dialogue were questionable from their areas. Ms. Alio, you come from Isu, that is in Menchum. Today, if there is something that is coming up in your community and they say, Mr. Kum Leonard will go and represent us, I'm very sure that you're going to have a vote. What Professor Willibrod Zengwa is saying here about trust is that let those who are going to talk not be handpicked. Let it be those who have been tested and proven by the community.
No, he's talking about the implementation of meaningful confidence-building measures, including the release.
Mr. Liu is progressive.
His focus is on the release, pardon, and judicial review of detainees linked to the crisis.
Mr. Liu is progressive. Yes. I'm talking about, when he talks about building trust, you don't build trust only by releasing prisoners. We had 8 commissions during the major national dialogue in 2019. There were 8 commissions. Building trust. One of the reasons people consume a particular product in the market is because that product has been tested and proven. And that is why somebody will go to the market and move all through the market looking for a particular product. Not because that product has been advertised so much, but maybe because someone has consumed it and has told the person the quality, or maybe the person has consumed and has seen the quality. I think that what Prof is saying here is you build trust by doing an action where people can say, okay, no, if it is Dr. Nzimancho who has gone to Danjangi, we are going to elect him our treasurer. Because if we give him the money, he will not run with it. That's building trust. It's not only releasing the prisoners. Let the government build trust on the people. Because I give you a very simple example, Mr. Liu. Municipal and legislative elections are coming up where he will be candidate for Boya. If we had a situation where in different political parties, even within the CPM, where people within a quarter voted who should become their councillor, I bet you there will be a lot of surprises. But since we have a system where there is a central committee that boils down and says this is at the people, it ends that way. That aside. The second thing now, Mr. Liu, is he talked about release of prisoners. Perfect, and it's correct. Where we are today, one of the reasons this crisis has been prolonging is because in 2019, Mr. Liu, there is nothing wrong in giving something a try. Bring Sisiko Ayuk Julius Tabe to the court, to the Congress Hall, where the major national dialogue is taking place. Let him sit. Let the government bench sit. A president listens to the people. Chinua Achebe once said that no matter how powerful a man is, he cannot win a war against his own people. You cannot. I think that the president of Cameroon is not a president for himself. He's a president because he has citizens. So, release the prisoners. The crime of Sisiko is not that he stole. The crime of Sisiko is not that he murdered. It's not homicide. His crime is that he said, I am this person. So, Professor Wilbrod is saying that he has a right to his opinion. They have a right to their opinion. Remember, he's not talking about people who are in prison who stole. He did not say released persons who raped, who stole, or who killed. He's talking about political prisoners.
But he's talking about both sides to be willing to engage in dialogue. When you get rhetorics from persons who say it's independence or nothing, are they willing to actually engage in dialogue?
Mr. Liu, that is now where the statement of reciprocal concession comes in. I want federation. You want decentralization. Let's dialogue. It's reciprocal. Reciprocal means 50-50. I want federation. Let's go to a dialogue table. If I'm able to put convincing points to say that federation is better off to decentralization, then let's buy it. In 1961, Cameroon was a federal republic. In 1972, it became a unity republic. Decentralization
I'm talking about people insisting on separation. You are talking about federation. And
Mr. Leo, those who are
you dodging away from
the question? No. Those who want separation is their opinion. And in a dialogue table, no topic is a taboo. Mr. Leo, if you get up, your son finishes, primary school or advanced level, and you say, boy, what do you want to become? He's open. You may be shocked and he tells you, I want to learn mechanic.
No.
But now, what do? The idea is not a taboo. You were looking at him to become a doctor. You wanted him to become a lawyer. You want him to become an engineer. It's a good idea. But what do you tell him? You convince him. That's where dialogue comes in. Son, why will you want to settle for this? I was thinking that.
Okay. Let's go further. Dr. Nimancho. Professor Wilbrod Zangwa says from Anglophone leadership, a clear commitment to cease hostilities where possible, to publicly endorse dialogue and to participate in a structured peace process without preconditions that foreclose engagement. Exactly what you just said. Yes, you don't give. No. What you said was counter to what he said.
Not preconditions. People have.
You because once you give a precondition, exactly what happened at the Canadian talks, why it collapsed. Certainly, government was ready to discuss about issues pertaining to. But when persons say no, we want to discuss it, government say that we don't identify.
And because that, the government has an agenda, Prophet Wilbrod is saying that both sides should be equal. The government should not think that their decision should be final. That's what Prophet is saying.
No, I've read what he has said to. Why are you talking what is not in the document?
No, I read it.
No, this is it.
To read that document.
He said, please.
If you read it till the end.
No, excuse me. It says from the state. We are going now. We are coming to the end. Why are you talking the end when we are still at the beginning? He says from the state. He's talking to the state to the implementation of meaningful confidence-building measures, including the release, pardon, or judicial review of detainees linked to the crisis and a formal initiation of an inclusive and transparent dialogue. That is what he expects from the state. But it says to the Anglophones, a clear commitment to cease hostilities where possible, to publicly endorse dialogue, and to participate in a structured peace process without preconditions that foreclose engagement.
I think it is very, very important because they say that in the first place, even when we make the statement that anyone, he who ever goes to equity will go with clean hands, it also shows that you should be ready to give and take. Because when you are too reticent in handling things and thinking that this thing like this, you are stiff on it, it means that you don't go with clean hands. It means that you are going only to take and you don't want to give. It is very important that we understand that when we talk about dialogue, when you go with dialogue, when you go for dialogue, you go with suggestions or with opinions. You don't go with decisions. You go with opinions. And therefore, if the government is organizing a dialogue, the government should be ready that if the other side want to give proposals, to think that will end the war, which would not touch anything about
The
the state. Why not accept it? The point is that there are some people who are just, I don't know, too full of themselves, who think that they run the state. Because what has brought the war in Cameroon shouldn't have brought the war, according to me. People can't be bandicating about the educational system and saying that they are sending Francophones to Anglophone schools. And is it a bad thing? People come and say, okay, magistrates, Anglophone magistrates and Anglophone courts, is it a bad thing? It was just an easy thing to readjust. To me, it was an easy thing to readjust. But because people are too full of themselves and of power, they said, you must only listen to me. This is now where the problem with dialogue comes and with negotiation comes. And that is why last week when we ran the program on the conference that some people want to call,
Anglophone conference.
Anglophone conference, which is supposed to be the third. And I told myself, okay, how would this hold? Because calling that conference, it means that you leave people to talk freely and give the decisions and the decision taken. Of what use will be that conference if they take a decision on certain issues that some people in Yaoundé don't want? It will not make any sense. It will still be another time wasted. And therefore, we ask that in issues like this, the government, if it's calling a national debate, it should be that the government is ready that this debate tell people to talk freely. Say what you think in your mind. The government will say yes. Let the government express why they were reticent to accept some of these things. Explain them. And ask the people on the other side to say what they think. And why are they thinking that this should work for them. It is a simple explanation.
Simple.
It's a simple thing.
There should be no taboo. So
that is the thing. Why should we be holding strings on certain issues? So this is where the problem comes from. And I know that is what Prof is talking about. That people should come being ready to take as they give. Don't only be ready to give, be ready also to take. That is flexibility in dialogue.
Are you talking to government or you are talking to Anglophone leaders?
To all of them!
Because no, excuse
all of
me.
them.
I want us to be orderly. I asked him about what Prof wants from government. I ask you what Prof wants from the Anglophones. But you guys are talking about from both sides.
Well, you were asking about...
It is structured. Okay, I ask you government. Okay. I've asked you what Prof talks to Anglophones and not government. They to them I talk about government.
Yes, I caption one big word, which is flexibility. Now, if we want to go specifically, we know what the people are asking. And I first of all talked about what the people are asking for government. What is the government asking for the people? No, the government has said in several occasions, the President of the Republic, first of all, is a guarantor of peace. Even though issues like this happen and we don't find him talk. But the government wants the people, the Anglophones, to know that they are part of the Republic in the first place. Because people have gone further to talk about independence. And we know that the government cannot be negotiating independence with the Anglophone at this time, even though we are talking about dialogue. But let them to come and talk that independence and give a reason why they want it to be, and tell the government how that independence is founded and where it is founded. It is not a taboo topic. The government wants them to come back to the fold, come back to the Republic. That's what the one thing that the government wants from them. Secondly, the government wants the Anglophones to come back up from the bushes, those who are in the bushes, to say that I cannot be talking with you when you're holding guns in the bushes. This is one of the things that the government is asking. How do you go to discuss when people are in the bushes with guns? Come out and we'll discuss. Thirdly, the government have said, send forth your representative. Who am I dialoguing with? Even though we know that the government should know who to dialogue with. Because Prince already talked about the leaders who are in prison. So in that one, okay, yes, Dr. He talked about the leaders in prison. So the government cannot be asking the people, who are they? But these are the things that we can solve in the dialogue. Because in the dialogue now, the people say, you are asking for who to dialogue with when you are taking our leaders and put in prison. How can you ask us again, which leader do you want from us? These are some of the beautiful aspects of a dialogue. And until you call that dialogue, you will never get all of these.
Are these leaders in prison Anglophone leaders or Ambazonian leaders?
Well, from 2016, 17, where I know they got them, they are Anglophone leaders.
Okay.
They are not Ambazonians. What we even call the Ambazonians is even something that happened after the 2016-2017. What is happening now is Ambazonian. 2016.
Sisiku Ayub Tabe is your leader?
Is a leader of the Anglophone views.
So
let me answer it that way. He's a leader of the Anglophone views. Asking about my leader, it will be as if I voted a leader. But I know that his aspiration that is carried forward, he didn't have the mandate, but he carried the aspiration of the Anglophone views.
When he presents himself in prison, he presents himself as a Cameroonian or an Ambazonian.
That is what I cannot say. I don't know about his file.
He has said consistently that he is an Ambazonian and not a Cameroonian. You say he is an Anglophone leader. I don't know whether he actually identifies himself as an Anglophone leader or an Ambazonian leader.
Do you know, I'm talking about an ideology that he carried. I'm not talking about Sisiko as a person, per se. I'm talking about the ideology that Sisiko carried was an ideology of fighting for the Anglophone, the educational system, legal system, all of that. But if he goes to prison and says that he's an Ambazonian leader, let them listen to him still. Let them know. No. It's not in prison. When he went to the United States of America, you saw the flag he was using. Wherever he went, he presented himself not as an Anglophone leader, but as an Ambazonian president, not a leader, as a president. Let me just give one
we saw the flags that accompanied him.
This is what happened in a republic. We have children who go gaga. And what solves the problem is when the father calls the children to put them down. We have children who go out of hand. If he went to the US and was brandishing and said that he is now the leader of, an abstract or Facebook whatsoever leader, it is the rule of the government to call him to the phone and say, but where are you coming with it? And you should be able to be returned to the right way.
Yep. There is some persons are confused about the Anglophone problem and the Ambazonian problem. Are Ambazonian leaders true Anglophone leaders today?
The truth, Mr. Liu, is that Sisiko Julius Ayuk Tabe has openly and repeatedly not only said it behind, but has said it openly. I remember at one time he showed a card in court that is an Ambazonian. That is means that it's a different from the Southern Cameroons, because if my history knowledge is good, I remember that there was a German Cameroon when the League of Nations separated us. There was one part that was called Southern Cameroons, or British Cameroon and French Cameroon. And British Cameroon was further divided into Northern British Northern Cameroons and British Southern Cameroons. So Ambazonia, I don't know where that word came from, like honestly, because historically, I'm looking about the history I know. Yes, I don't know where the word came from. So, but like Dr. simply put it, I think that, Mr. Liu, when you have children in the house, I give this example before, Sisiko Ayuk Tabe has brought up, it's an idea. It is going on. The anthem is even there. There's an anthem. At one time, they were even brandishing currency online. I think, Mr. Liu, when some of these things are coming, when you have a child who goes out and you tell the child by 6 p.m. come back home, and that child comes home at 7 p.m. and you flog the child. He comes back at 7 p.m. you flog. When you flog that child for a week, he becomes used to the cane. And at times he will even go and even stay the day out, come the following day knowing that he will come and be whipped. I believe that where we are today is because, Mr. Liu, we had missed it. And like Pope Leo said, and just like Professor Wilbert Zengwa is saying, it is not late. Let those who are saying that dialogue, because we have government ministers who have said the government has already made a dialogue and there will never be a dialogue. It is wrong. And we also have people on the other hand, Mr. Liu, I'm coming. We also have people on the other hand who say that they are Ambazonians and that La Republique. You even hear at times that when there is a match going on, a Cameroonian match, a football match, Cameroon is playing, for instance, against Cote d'Ivoire, and they'll tell you that our neighbors are playing. I do not know where these terminologies are coming from. But I feel, Mr. Liu, that it is not late. It is not late. Sisiko, come on the table. When he sits on the table, Mr. Liu, I'm coming. When he sits on the table, you tell him, my brother, In July 1884, the Germans annexed Cameroon, according to history. Later on, in 1916, the League of Nations came in, separated the people, said, French, take this part, you take this part. Lancelot, Oliphant, and Georges Picot. That's how history is telling us. Progressive, because all this thing is history. And progressively, at one time, they say, okay, Britain, because Britain was not too interested in Cameroon, they took 1 feet, and France took 4 feet. They took the greater share. That's why we have what is happening today. And now, historically, again, because these are historical facts, Mr. Liu, I feel that when these two brothers sit on a table, they'll be able to solve it. And if they are unable to solve it, they'll always have a way to meet an agreement. We have this problem, Mr. Liu, because we have left those who matter and we're chasing shadows. When you call a major national dialogue, and you want to pick people who are not even, Mr. Liu, I'm coming. And you are going. No, let me land now. Let me land.
No, I just asked. It is his time, eh?
Mr. Liu, let me land. Okay, you will come back to me.
Then stay in context.
Okay. Within context. No, I'm saying that when you're saying that Ambazonian leaders and this, I'm talking about the fact that Sisiko has taken his stance, just like the government has taken his stand. Because the government too has a stand. We should be able to. That's we was talking about balance.
What? No. Please. I want us to be very objective here. There is a constitution in this country, and when you are elected a president, you take an oath of office. If you are president of Cameroon, you take an oath. The day you are taking the oath, the oath you say you are supposed to protect this land and integrity of this of the nation, and that not an inch is supposed to. And when you say the government has taken a stand, I don't know any government where they tell you that we want to take part of this and you say you clap for them. Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah.
I wasn't saying that they should take part. I'm
when
talking
about government has
Mr.
taken a stand.
Mr. Liu, I'm saying that the government should also listen. There is no taboo subject in a dialogue.
Okay.
Even if someone dresses naked, convince a person that this dressing is not decent.
Okay.
Don't chastise. Go. Knock out of my corner. You did the tea. You don't do that.
At the beginning of this crisis, I'm sure I'm one of those who have organized most of the panel discussions discussing about this. At the beginning of this crisis, there was a communique issued from Yaoundé forbidding us from discussing about federation. You remember that at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yes, we were forbidden to say that what you said is not completely true, because after some time, we are now discussing federation and the government is observing, which means that they have shifted ground. We know of ministers who said there was no Anglophone crisis. The President of the Republic himself came on national TV and said, I am convening a major national dialogue. He even made a declaration to Mo Ibrahim saying that we wanted, which means that there have been a shifting. At the level of the Supreme Court, there has been the creation of the common law bench. There has been the creation of the common law department at the level of ENAM. I'm sure lots and lots of things, not to say at the beginning there was a position which has greatly shifted. But to you, Mr. Mosoke, I want also to look at what Prof is saying. He says from all the parties, he calls to government and the Anglophone leadership. He says a shared willingness to prioritize the protection of civilians, the restoration of education, and the reduction of humanitarian suffering. Is this something that we all need to consider today?
Yeah, actually, all of us need to know that human beings are paramount. When there's a conflict that does not protect or secure the lives of civilians, and not just civilians, everybody, then there's a problem. And I think that during this conflict, civilians have actually not had enough protection. Many civilians have lost their lives. And I think that in anything which we are doing, whether it's a dialogue, whether it's what, or whether we are fighting for a state, whether we are fighting for whatsoever, if the strategies we are using do not take into consideration the protection of human beings, then we have a problem. Because even if we are fighting for what, we should not go to the extent where children can no longer go to school, children are being killed, houses are being burned down, and all this. No. It's an ideology, and I think that passing over an ideology does not even need guns to be used. Yes, you know the quotas that are responsible. There are international bodies today. It may take time, but you can put pressure until your situation will be looked into, so that we should not make others to be casualties. Because if at the end you kill everybody and you have a land, who will stay in that land? No. So we should treasure human beings first, and they should be at the center of protection on both sides, so that they should not become the casualties of a fight which they may finally never benefit anything from as civilians. So my own take is the fact that government and separatists should really look into the strategies, the method that they are using in this conflict. And that is where many people have said that government should call for ceasefire. That ceasefire is necessary. Let everybody put down their arms. Let the government to cease from using arms against, be it separatists or civilians, so that the both parties now know that we've called ceasefire. If from the ceasefire now that people now, that is a building of trust. From then now, you cannot be talking about a true dialogue. You cannot be holding dialogue where you have not called for ceasefire. Anywhere in the world, there's no way in the world where there's a conflict or there's a war and you want to call for a dialogue, then you don't call for ceasefire first.
Yeah, but this brings us to this. So many persons, Dr. Nimancho, will say justice before peace. Justice before peace. He's saying that you need to down the guns. The guns need to stop smoking before you can engage in discussion. But there are persons who say we must fight till the last man standing, and through the justice, peace will come.
That is the problem where we are. And I keep on asking myself, what justice really can I have for my brother who was killed? Because if I really want a country in peace, I must first of all forgive at that particular moment where where I lost my own brother. It is true that people will say, okay, at least they should do some indemnification and whatsoever. It is important. But really, if you are really somebody who wants a country to be in peace, just like Mr. Misoke said, you need to first of all tell the people, calm down the spirit of people if you even want dialogue. You need to first of all calm the people's spirit. Because, as you said, people cannot be doing dialogue while they're in the bush, while the guns are still smoking. Yeah. You cannot. You cannot. Because people insist on justice before peace, want the guns to continue smoking, so that as they smoke, they should look for, peace settlement and indemnification and all of those before they ever come to a table to settle things. When you look at the South African experience, it was all about forgiveness. It was all about forgiveness, because how can you really ever get compensation for a family that went down? What compensation can we have for the people of Nzera? Mr. Prince? It cannot really be. Now, I remember that happens sometimes when it's a transnational kind of crisis, between border crisis with two different countries. Yes, sometimes you can begin to actually hold on to that and say, okay, this must happen. But this is something that happens between brothers and sisters. This is the difference. If Cameroon is fighting a war with Nigeria, for example, yes, you can begin to talk about justice before whatsoever. But then you are talking about your own brothers. You want to treat your corpse of your brother for maybe 100 million francs before peace returns. This is why we keep on saying that for meaningful anything to happen in Cameroon, if everybody wants justice before peace, then we will never have it in Cameroon. Then we will never ever have a dialogue. Because even sitting together, there is this hatred that you have for another person because you want to be compensated before you come and sit with your brother and talk. Because this is what some people are saying, that you want to have your fee, you want to be compensated. But what has happened? Houses have been burned down, they have lost things. They want the government to compensate before they call for dialogue. That's what some people are now. But we are saying that peace first. If you really want to be the country to be at peace, you must be able to accept that you forgive first. Because there are things that happen between you and your brothers. This is the thing. Now, when you say government should compensate, those who kill on the other side, how will they compensate? Because we see you have people blood in their hands from the other side of the coin. We have people. If we ask them to compensate, well, what would they compensate? I mean, we are. It is funny.
That's true justice. And we're talking about reciprocity here.
That is it.
If you expect justice, let's take the case of Ngarbu, where military were caught in excesses. Now, these guys were taken to the military tribunal in Yaoundé, and they have been sentenced, given 10 years sentences. This is justice done by government because they can identify this. Okay, take the guys who have been killing for 10 years today. How do they pay for what they have done? Because some of them, take somebody like Fima Shah of Libialem. I'm sure he kills certain persons. So how do you compensate? Who compensates to these families in this situation of justice?
Yes, you know, in the Cameroonian context, it's a little bit complex, and also it's very simple. You know, there are situations.
It's we're supposed to just okay.
Okay.
Just go on.
Okay. I was just saying that in conflict resolutions, there is no straight jacket principle. You look at the situation and you look at what can work in that situation. In the situation of Cameroon today, to be very honest, we need to put peace in front first. The situation of Cameroon. But the norm is that you should put justice first. But the way that the situation is, if you want to put justice first, you realize that it will take a lot of time. It will take a lot of time. Because to even establish the justice for it to take place, that is another hell of issue concerning all what has happened. But when peace is put in place, justice can truly follow. There are situations that have been handled like that. They first of all establish the peace. Then now, after establishing the peace, everything has been resolved. Then they start pursuing certain situations now, according to investigations. But we need peace in Cameroon first.
You say Cameroon's situation is peculiar. But I want us to look at Rwanda. When was the special tribunal set up to try victims or to try authors of atrocities? It was after the war.
It was after.
In Sierra Leone, a special tribunal was set up, or in Liberia. These special tribunals are always set up after. So how do you set up a tribunal to engage justice while the war is on?
No, it's not possible. It's always established thereafter. But peace should have its place first. When everything has been peacefully settled, then now they can now set up the tribunal.
Okay, I'm going to get, I'm sure one day going to get Barrister Bala here to explain how these things work, because we need to get experts, lawyers in the domain who can identify who did what, where, and how, so that they can be brought to justice. There is a process of identification of authors of crimes against humanity.
Yes.
They need to set them up. Maybe 10 of them, say a special court has been set up in Cameroon to identify who was involved with what, and then now we are talking.
Yes, it's a situation that may even take 50 years. It means that they will start gradually investigating, picking up persons and the rest. It may take up to 50 years plus to finally fish out those who, So it's a long process. That is the reason why peace should come first. Peace should come first.
Okay. Now, what concrete steps can the government take immediately to demonstrate sincerity in opening inclusive dialogue, if at all government decides to move away from what we all know today, because we are at the implementation phase of the recommendations of the major national dialogue that took place in Yaoundé? What are the concrete steps that we should see, if at all, the government were to heed to the call of the professor?
The major steps that the government needs to take, one of the major and most important steps the government needs to take is to release all those who were arrested because of the crisis.
Okay, like Professor is suggesting?
Of course, the Nera 10, they were picked from Nigeria. Like I said before, Mr. Leo, their crime is not rape. their crime is not homicide. Before now, they are not killed. They were not even in Cameroon as of then. They are not like the others who have been charged for bank fraud, like Eric Tato. They have not been linked to anything that is filthy. I think that the Nera 10, Sisiko, and the others who were picked, and people like the Mancho BBC. Mancho BBC was just picked because he was outspoken. He decried the poor nature of roads, the poor living condition in Bamenda, and questioned the government delegate and said, Mr. Government Delegate, you cannot be the government delegate to the Bamenda Council, and this is, look at, the Bamenda is a shadow of itself, and he was picked. So I think that he was picked for his opinion. Let those people be released. That is the major step. The second step that the government needs to take, to me, Mr. Liu, is the fact that when you look at what is happening in the Northwest and the Southwest, you know, at times, Dr. Nzimanchu and Mr. Misoke, I used to tell people that there are people from 2016 who have shuttled between Boya, Douala, Yaoundé. They know nothing about Bamenda. They know nothing maybe about Manfe. They know nothing maybe about Ekona. You don't know those realities. Have you ever sat in a car from 2016 on the same spot for close to 6 hours and that meets you in a forest where there is no house around because the driver tells you those boys are ahead? I'm just coming freshly from the Northwest, from Mr. J to be precise. I've not been 3 days old. We know those realities. There are certain checkpoints where even with your ID you are afraid to give the uniform officer because the guy is wild on you. He thinks that he's suffering because of you. He thinks they posted him to that area where he is in that bush alone because of the crisis. He's angry. The guy is mad at you. He's, hey, Mr. Fela, what is in a bush? You are like, where did you go wrong? I am not the cause of your appointment. One of the things is, Mr. Liu, they need to call for a ceasefire. Let everybody who is, there's a DDR. Let those who are in the bushes come out. Let those two who are also shooting on the camp of the military also say no, they should also stop. Because what had to happen in Zerenyem, in Kumbu, it is 14 civilians that were killed by who? By the military. And these 14 civilians have been identified as what? Separatist fighters. We had what happened in Gidado, that is in Due subdivision.
No, I take exception to what you've just said.
Let me read municipal updates.
No, please, please,
I'm quoting municipal updates.
Please. Persons have been killed. Persons have been killed in Zerem. Please.
Let me quote
please,
2 or 3 papers.
No. I take responsibility for what this panel. Yes.
All right.
Because here you are outrightly accusing.
Okay.
But others are also saying that they were separatist fighters. Others say they are civilians.
All right.
I don't want to put my house in trouble.
Okay, Mr. Liu. Yeah. Let me quote the one that was investigated and proven. Ngarbu massacre.
Yeah.
Civilians were killed by the military. Hope you don't take exceptions to that one.
No, to that one,
it's an open. Okay.
Yes, they have been sentenced. The military guys have been sentenced.
Okay, yes, okay. That's it. Because I'm talking about ceasefire from both ends. Ngarbu, we saw the military kill civilians. In Gidado, civilians against civilians, 15 people died. Amongst the 15 people, 7 comes from the same family. I keep telling people, you know, at times we just say things.
So from Garbu, you know the authors. For Gidado, you don't know the authors.
Civilians.
Yes.
Mr. Liu, you know.
Who are the other civilians?
Mr. Liu, let me make a point. The point I want to make here is, I know that it is true, it will be difficult to prove it. In the far north, when Boko Haram started, the information that circulated, though was not verified, is that those who came beard, that those people were bearded a lot, whose beard will win were Boko Haram. But now, when you go, I'm not supporting the separatists, Mr. Liu. Maybe you're not getting my point.
Civilians,
it is difficult.
So civilians killed in Gidado.
Mr. Liu, what I'm saying here is, when someone does not have a trademark that identifies him, it is difficult. That is why the term that is often used is unarmed men. Because they have not been trained. These people are generals. They call themselves generals. You call somebody general, field marshal. Whereas we know that in the military terminology, in Cameroon, you end with a colonel. Once you finish as a colonel, a general is a presidential appointment that comes via a presidential decree. But today we have people left class 6 who had never seen Form 1, who joined somewhere, and the next day they are generals.
Just get back to what we were discussing.
Yes. So I'm saying that there needs to be ceasefire, Mr. Liu.
Okay.
We cannot be talking peace and talking dialogue and people are dying every day. I was not expecting what happened in Kumbu to happen, because I felt that the message of the Pope, until the Pope even quoted the Bible, it's just that the verse is not. The verse is not coming.
Quoted the Bible.
No. I mean, he quoted. No. What I'm saying is, he talked about peace and even quoted a particular chapter to substantiate what he had to say. To say that, okay, there is need for peace in the Northwest and the Southwest. We cannot be talking peace and people are being killed. We need a ceasefire, Mr. Liu, in the Northwest and the Southwest. And I also think that, finally, the government needs to accept that at one time they too also faulted. Because the separatists have already, everybody, it is open and it's glaring, that those who took up arms and they were not trained have faulted. There is no excuse you give for taking
have they
their life.
accepted that they're faulted?
Do I know them? I know the government.
No,
I know that President is the president of Cameroon.
You say the separatists have. Are you their spokesperson? When you say they have, they
are faulted because they killed.
No, but they tell you that we will fight till the end, which means
let them keep fighting. And I'm saying that according to the law of nature, once you take away life, it's a sin. It's a fault. Okay. So once you sin, it's a crime. Those who have killed have faulted. The government too have killed, they are faulted. So on both sides, and that's why Professor is talking about reciprocity.
Okay, Dr. Ndibanchu, Cameroon, don't know, we have had the major national dialogue. What would make this proposed inclusive dialogue different from the previous one, if at all the government or the separatists were to hit to it?
I think...
is it lessons learned from what has happened these past years?
Of course, it's lesson learned and it's also a lesson taught. It is also a proposal, because sometimes there are some of these things that we need to revise. Because despite the fact that we've had the national dialogue, and after the national dialogue we came up with other, the multiculturalism and bilingualism stuff and all of those that we have had after the national dialogue, the regionalism and all of those things. We still see that because peace is a process, and all of these things must be a process, an end to itself. And therefore, we have to constantly get to these kind of proposals. Because if you propose and propose, because you've seen that nothing is working, the guys are still there. Each person still flexing his muscles. And knowing that when arms are concerned, it is also another issue that we need to deal with. So we need to constantly have education like this from the lesson that we've learned, and then to project and see the future, because it's what we talk about, stakes and perspectives. What are the stakes at this moment? This is what we have, and then what is the perspective? What do we think would happen in future? And then when we have academia as such who propose things, so I think that we get to listen to them. It is very, very important, because if you try one way, try a solution. And that is why researchers, they keep researching, because, as time passes, a lot of things will change. And therefore, the Anglophone crisis has proven that we need to go back to the drawing board, because we have not been able to achieve the desired peace, the desired objective of the dialogue and all of those things that we have done in the past. So you will see that we have failed in one way or the other. And therefore, when we have things like this, the proposal is good to look into and forge ahead.
Okay, Field. Now, what if a government were to say, okay, I'm ready for us to talk, and on the other side they say we want independence or nothing? What do you do in this situation?
Yes, Mr. Liu, I wish to say that the separatist fighters are not the ones to talk for Anglophones.
Okay.
That is why I earlier said that the Anglophone community including the separatist fighters, have to meet first and handle and iron out things and have a common stand. It is this common stand that will be presented to government. The separatists are not an isolated entity because they are part of the Anglophone body. So anything that has to work has to be a collective agreement between the separatist fighters and the Anglophone body as a whole, because they are not the ones to decide for Anglophones. That is why we need to meet together with the separatist fighters as Anglophones, and we come up with an acceptable proposal, which is what will be tabled to government in case of any dialogue that the government opens up to. So that we are going to that dialogue as a body, as an entity called the Anglophone, fusing the separatists into it. We agreed. This is what we will then present to the government as this is what the Anglophones finally have agreed upon, and they are tabling on this table of dialogue.
Okay.
So that it will not be challenged thereafter that it is only a set of people who went there. So that this should be a collective agreement, and this is what the Anglophones want, so that if it goes through, then fine. But we should always have this mindset when we are going in for a dialogue table that it should be a win-win. It means that you are winning, the other side is winning. You have to compromise, you have to let go, the other side you have to let go. Then you people now come at a central point where you agree. This central point, which should be a win-win point on both sides.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'll take some of the messages. Good evening, Mr. Leo and panelists. I love your moderation. If we need accurate report, it should come from those on the ground. Ben is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Ben. I don't know whether it's Ben who just wrote. Ben Men. Good evening to all of you guys watching us from Bamenda, the capital of the Northwest region. I'm struggling to get some other messages. I want to also read what people think out there. This one says, this is a truth. The word Ambazonia was introduced by Barrister Dika. This is a group of Southern Cameroonians who stand for independence and nothing else. And that's where Ayub Tabe belongs. This is the truth. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Kum. On the panelists, please, there is no constitution in the country since the form of the state was touched, and it's being toast continuously. Thank you. That's the ambience writing from Tico. Mr. Liu, good evening to you and the panel. Well, the topic of today is on Professor Willie Brodzengwa's proposal on how to solve the Anglophone crisis. Good, but take note that it is an opinion, not a biblical solution to the problem. What you be focusing on is your joint ideas on how the problem can be solved. Okay, this one says, we are tenacious and have refused to accept the surrender of the Biafrans. Engaging in dialogue with go on, not because they observed that their people were dying in the East. Nigeria was being destroyed. Emeka explicitly stated that there is a time to cease fighting, especially when the consequences directly affect your own people. I want you to react to this. Just, I hope you followed what he has said. It's quoting what happened in the Biafra War. It says, we are tenacious and have refused to accept the surrender of the Biafrans. Engaging in dialogue with Gowon, not because they observed that their people were dying and East Nigeria was being destroyed. Emeka explicitly stated that there is a time to cease fighting, especially when the consequences directly affect your own people. This one says, good evening, my dear people. Just to add, my brother with red clothes, please, the way you are saying the truth about the two equal nations coming together, and now one nation is looking the other like nothing. Be careful, because the government can do something. Okay, Mr. Liu, I love your program. Okay, this one says, beautiful coordination, Mr. Liu. I love the answer you gave to the dismantling of the federation. That panelist was ill-informed. Hope from Tico says, sometimes we should speak the truth and forget all these lies and manipulation. We never came as two equal states. One was independent and the other was not. The government created the DDR, offering an olive branch to all those holding weapons. On the other hand, some of you with your extreme ideas have refused to accept it. Anglophones are not Amazonians, okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panel. I want to appreciate the contributions of Mr. Mosoke. He's very sincere. Emmanuel is writing from Bamenda. Good evening. Is the cause when Siku was a leader, there was no gun, okay? But peace, he didn't preach. Gun, so for me, he's a true leader. Good evening, Mr. Akume on the panelist. Please delete us in prison. My product there is very correct. Okay, the message is not clear. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thanks for the topic of today. I wonder whether separation can be dialogue as Professor Willie Brodzengwa proposed. Separation is an extreme position, and for a way out of this position to be abandoned for genuine dialogue. I still see Anglophones mixed up between the Anglophone problem and the Anglophone crisis. Anglophones are their own enemies. Anglophones created the crisis. School boycott, ghost towns, kidnapping to solve a problem. These policies should be abandoned. Okay, these are some messages coming in from you guys who are watching across Cameroon. Yes, but I want us also to look at taking the case of Biafra. They did not surrender necessarily because they could not fight, but they considered the toll on the population.
Yes, of course, you remember at that time in 1969 and 1970 when it was at the height, there was the issue of starvation, hunger, and all of those things. And you remember that even when Ojukwu fled to Ivory Coast, he fled to Ivory Coast around in 1970, and who remained to fight was Effiong. And Effiong looked at it and said, man, why should I go on fighting when my people are starving in this way? And Effiong had to, give in, because he decided to protect the people from rather than his own personal ego or his own personal, prowess. And that is what happened with the Biafra. And you remember that even when Ojukwu fled to the Ivory Coast, he actively played the role in letting in relief aid to the Biafra. He did a lot there because he considered his people. Because when you look at the comparison between the Anglophone crisis and what happened in Biafra, those are two words. We don't see people who really love the Anglophones in this crisis. Because rather you find that there is hospitals are being vandalized, schools are being stopped, and all of those things. But with the Biafra was not like that. The Biafra will have Ojukwu and Effiong who had the people at heart, and they saw the suffering of the masses, and to them it was no option to actually trade or transact the well-being of the people for independence, which they didn't even see coming. And you even see that at one moment, even the people turn away from them. That is also the kind of courage that the Anglophones have not had. Because we have seen that it's not going, and the Anglophones most of them are still behind it, trying to say, hey, our voice. This is one of the things, the difference that we will have with the Biafran war, because it was a war of actually, the people, the leaders had, the people wanted to liberate Ojukwu and his followers wanted to liberate the people. But one moment they said, but you cannot be liberating the people, and then you find that the people themselves are going down the drain, are dying, are suffering, and then you keep on hanging on the fact that you want to liberate the people. So it is a very, very huge difference that we have with the Anglophone crisis, and we keep on asking ourselves, who is the leader of the Anglophone? I know we have already talked about the people in Yaoundé. And I said in 2016, at least I could say these are the people who spearheaded this thing. But after 2017, I don't know of anybody any longer. Now that's what we keep asking. Today, who is the leader on the ground? Who is the one who is actually spearheading this thing that is going on? So, and there was this slogan that they put, no victor, no vanquished. During the Biafra war. It was an important statement, no victor, no vanquished. And we too, we need to say that there is no winner, and there is no loser at one moment that we have to consider. And that's why the concept of peace even comes.
I remember an issue where you were very worried about what has happened to the northwest and southwest region, especially when you saw a beautiful edifice erected I'm sure in Yaoundé of Chichong. And this is just one of the hundreds of institutions dismantled from this side over here, leaving people in, I don't know whether we are progressing or regressing.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about in comparison with the Biafra war, where the people had, the leaders, they had the people at heart. Imagine that the almighty Chisom, the cardiac center, the only one in Central Africa, I must say, that's the only one in Central Africa. And, you know, it is not just about the cardiac center for those who are sick. It is also about the economy, where people come in, they have to bring a lot of money. And, of course, the businesses are booming. And you find our brothers and sisters who will go as long as saying that this doesn't work. They want to vandalize the place. And, you know, a lot of people were coming in, and the name of, even just that name that they promote, that name that they're going to Kumbu, they're going to solve, it is important too that we have to look at. And our brothers, they think that this is something from, I don't know whether they think that it's La Republique which has that, or I don't know. But, and they go and they go further to actually, you know, annihilate the whole place, vandalize the whole place. I mean, the people too, the sisters too are also, apart from saying that they are working for the community, they too are working on doing some business. And not only that, when you look at this, the Baptist Hospital, which is just not far from Chisom, it is the same thing. It is it's already an image of yourself now. And you ask yourself, how do we shoot ourselves on the leg? Because these guys who are, because there are certain things you shouldn't touch. That's why we say, you don't war, you don't touch the church, you don't touch the hospital. How do you touch the hospital? Because you yourself, you'll be healed in that hospital. How do you go and stop or destroy a hospital when you know that you yourself, you are in need of that? That's why we started feeling that there is something not right. Because there are certain things that we are supposed to protect and not to destroy. You find guys destroying their communication antennas. Yes. And meanwhile, they need the communication, they themselves. What is the meaning of that? And then we begin to ask yourself, if this should happen, I didn't blame. I really cried a lot when I saw that annex, beautiful build in Swa. And some people try to explain to say it's just an annex. I said, no, it starts like an annex. Sometimes our annex are even more equipped than the main hospital. And because when you see that and you look at the Chisom, which is just a shadow of itself now, you know that that annex is far more than what remains in Chisom now. So, and then we ask ourselves, I ask those who are still really talking about this fight, do they see that? Because in the image of the Biafra war, they were been fighting to guard that place. They have even had people guarding and keeping the place safe. But rather, they are destroying the place. So it is a problem that now we are beginning, we realize that they are not fighting for us. Because you are fighting for us, you should be able to fight for my mother, for my father, for my brother, for my sisters, for my aunt. And in fighting for them, it is about keeping the hospital intact to know that when these people are sick, they get to the hospital without any problem. Keeping the schools intact to know that tomorrow we are fighting an ideological war, that tomorrow, at the end of this all, we'll have our children who are educated, who will go to school. But imagine about how many schools have been vandalized. It is terrible because it shows that we don't look ahead. I have not seen any war anywhere where they fight and then they want to stamp out education. No way. What do I think about tomorrow? We talk about education, we talk about health, we talk about people's religion. How do you touch people's religion? It is also another thing. You kidnap priests, you kidnap bishops, and then you take to the bush. And now you are now taking the crisis to be something of, settling scores than actually solving a problem. Because that's when I look at 2016, I look at the eradication, and I look at 2026. Now, I see two different things. Because it shows that some people wanted to get in as opportunists and take over this thing. They were not fighting for us. Look at this on two suffering that people are going to. You block roads for 3-4 days that people shouldn't actually go to their markets, they go to their business places. You take people's ID cards. You cut the people and destroy them. And they are the very people when you kidnap, you are asking for franc CFA. And I'm asking you myself, they use those ID cards to be able to get money from banks. You use the card, you cut them. And then where do you think they take the money from? And paradoxically, when you take them, what are you asking from them? CFA, which you stand to stamp out. The CFA, is it, I thought they would have been asking for a different currency, but they keep asking for the same CFA. How can you be going against something and at the same time, you are, it's like refusing that you don't eat maybe pork, but you eat the sauce. It is bad.
Okay.
So
Mr. Mutu, where are we if I were to ask you to situate the Anglophone crisis today? Many people see it as an amoeba, difficult to describe because we don't know who is leading, where we are, and yes, can you still recognize 2016 and today?
Yeah, I said something from the start, and for me to come back to it. I said and wish to reiterate on the fact that there is an Anglophone problem. And this conflict has actually exposed a lot of things. And the conflict has two sides, as I said. You have the diasporans and the separatists that are in Cameroon. Then the other parties now are the other Anglophone brothers and sisters who are not fighting. And I said, as it stands now, there is no collaboration between the fighters, both at home and abroad, and the Anglophone body as a whole. So when you look at the conflict now, you see a lot of things has gone wrong. A lot of people have been killed. Many people have died. Many other people have escaped from where they were living. Even fonds and chiefs have run away from their chiefdoms and fondoms. And the whole issue now is as though there is a conflict, there is not a conflict. So it has reached, yes, so it has reached a point where what should be done now is to bring the Anglophones together. Because they have a problem. And they can table this problem in a better way to government under the banner of the dialogue that is being expected, including the separatists. Because as it stands now, the separatists don't have a leader. There are leaders leading their own faction and body, raising their own funds to do whatsoever they wish to do. And there is no coordination. And when there is no coordination, you cannot achieve your goal. You cannot achieve your objectives. So we are one. And I think that it has reached a time where the separatist fighters, our brothers and sisters at home and abroad, it's time for us to sit down, settle down, and reason as one man. What do we really want from government as a body? Let us together dialogue first, then have a common point.
Yeah, but now,
and face the government with this common point.
This is what you are advocating, that there is need for Anglophones to come together.
Yes.
I don't know whether you follow some of those you call leaders who are out of the country. Dr. Ndimacho, I don't know whether you have followed some of them, who were actually making a mockery for the call of an all-Anglophone conference. They outrightly say they don't see any essence of that, but somehow here we say, yeah, they are leaders, but they don't even identify in what you are saying. And same persons condemned the late Cardinal Tumi, and they were very categorical when they said that they don't identify themselves in what Cardinal Tumi actually wanted to organize. So is that not also the problem? Because we say, okay, government knows who to dialogue with, and government is pretending. But even amongst Anglophones, if we were to say today that amongst yourself, do you agree?
Yes, yeah.
Is that not yeah?
Yeah.
That's why
if I may say something,
are we not in an amoebic situation here?
Yes, I don't think that name All Anglophone Conference is a good name, because the two sittings failed. So we need to come up with something new and give it a name. It should not be All Anglophone Conference 3, because the first one failed, the second one failed. Nothing has come out.
Now, what you say separatists have to be part of it. What if they say we don't identify ourselves in what you want us to do?
Mr. Kum, that's why I said that when we talk about dialogue, there is negotiation. There should be individuals who have to talk with the separatists on a separate note and be able to convince them of the need for all of us to meet and come up with a unique way forward.
Okay.
Yes, they need to be convinced, and it's not easy to convince them, but it is possible to convince them.
Okay.
Yes, so that we stand as one person to present our points to the government as Anglophones and see what will come out of that. But that name, All Anglophone Conference, has a problem because the two first ones failed. So using that same name is a problem.
When you say we as Anglophones are supposed to table our problems to government, are Anglophones not part of the government?
No,
Do they not also constitute part of the government?
No, I'm talking now in terms of conflict resolutions. The Anglophones have a problem which needs a solution, which has been acknowledged by government officials. The head of state himself has acknowledged that the Anglophones have a problem. So we want this problem to be solved.
Okay, it has been acknowledged, and
Yes, we want the problem
effort,
to be solved.
No effort has been done so far to solve it?
No, some issues have been done. Some issues have been done, but there is still a lot
They
more
are not enough.
that needs to be done, which all of us know.
Okay.
Yes.
Some issues are supposed to be done, which have not been done, because we are at the level of the implementation of the recommendations of the major national dialogue, and we know that one of the byproducts of the major national dialogue was the creation of the House of Chiefs, the Regional House of Assembly, a special status that has been granted to the Southwest and Northwest regions of Cameroon, though we have also organized programs here actually scrutinizing their effectiveness and efficiency in meeting up to the expectations of the people. Yes, now, Mukage, we are looking at the situation where both sides are supposed to make concessions. People are supposed to be willing to sit on the table to dialogue for an end to this crisis. Where should this happen, in Cameroon or out of Cameroon?
Of course, sorry, Mr. Liu, with your permission, before I come to that, I want to make this corrigé dume. That's how they put it. What happened in Jakiri, actually the military, because I got feedback from people, the military shot at separatist fighters, not civilians. If I told us what I said, you know, at times when you're talking in a conversation, you may, yes, the word actually, it was separatist fighters. Okay. And in Gidado, it was the separatists that shot at civilians. That is according to the mayor of Ndu. That's what I got. Now, having said that, I think that there is no way you want to you quarrel with your wife, and you want to settle the problem between your wife, and you take your wife to your neighbor's house. I remember, if for those who've read Son of the Native Soil by Shadrach and Banasom, the daughter goes to tell the mother, Echunje goes to tell the mother what she had with the husband, and the next thing the mother asked the daughter is, who have you told this to? And the daughter said, Mother, I've told nobody yet. And the mother tells her, don't tell nobody. Even me, I was not supposed to know. I think, Mr. Liu, that we are grown up enough, we are mature enough, we are intelligent enough, we know our history very well. The president of this republic, President Paul Biya, told Ibrahim Moore during the Paris Peace Conference in Paris that the problem of my country is long and it's complicated because it's historical. It means that the president knows the problem. Those who are in prison, like the Sisiko will tell you, I am this person. They know the problem. They know where they are coming from. It means that all of us know the problem. Christian Cardinal Tumeme, so rest in peace, called for an all-Anglophone conference. The objective was, what do we take forward? I think, Mr. Liu, that all of us know our problems. We will not take our problems to Canada. Canada did not come to Cameroon before they decided that there should be Quebec and there should be other parts. Canada sat as Canadians and they decided and resolved their problems. Other countries have resolved their problems. And I think that Cameroon is mature enough. We got independence 1961. French Cameroon 1960, the Southern Cameroon 1961. And I think that, Mr. Liu, were mature enough. From 1960 to 2026, it's so much of a time. And I think that we have people We have documents. We have the Professor Weber Zongwa who are living. We have the Professor Victor Julius Go. We have lots of people. We have Fon Muketeme, Soros in Perfect Peace. He once wrote a book titled My Odysseys. Those documents are there. We don't need to go far. We have living monarchs. We have people who lived the 1961 who actually voted, who can tell the story that this is what went, this is how we can solve it. So I think, Mr. Liu, that let us stay in Cameroon. Let us look at each other in the face and tell ourselves who offended each other. If I do something to Dr. Ndimanchu, I will not only respect him as a brother who comes from the same area, but I'll respect him as an elder brother. I should be able to tell him, big brother, if I offended you, I'm sorry. And I'm sure that he too, as an elder brother, will open his arms to me and come to me and tell me, brother, come, I understand that you faulted. I think that let us sit as one man, Mr. Liu, look at each other in the face and say that we faulted. Because, Mr. Liu, there is no joy in killing. I remember before I came here, you and I were discussing, before we came live, Mr. Liu, the life you used to enjoy, the life we used to enjoy. There are people here, you speak with French brothers, French colleagues will tell you, je me souviens les jours quand j'ai partais à Limbe. J'ai mangé le poisson.
I met one guy, a francophone journalist who works for Le Jour today in Bonanjo, and he was reminding me how we used to enjoy in Kumba.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Today, so, he said they sat in the office and they kept saying, we used to go and meet.
They have that souvenir, Mr. Liu, they want to go. You and I can go there because we think that the tension has died down. But now he doesn't have that same picture. He still feels that if someone is killed in Jakiri, and then if he goes to Moliko, he may be shot. So he feels he should stay until they tell him the war is over. Who is losing? We are losing. How many schools are built east the Mongo every day? Most of the proprietors of schools here are Anglophones. Big schools, big primary schools. The Sinaks all over Douala, most of them, if not 60% and plus, of the Sinaks we have in Douala owned by Anglophones. These are Sinaks that were moved from the northwest and the southwest. And who is losing? We are losing. We are booming another economy. When you burn a school, someday you need to build back that school. The children who did not go to school in 2016, because we were thinking that certificate will not be recognized, lost a year of an academic year. And I think that
many have lost 5-6 years.
5-6 years. I saw a very big boy who is in class 5, and I was asking the mother. He said no, the war caught them, and that child had spent 5 years without going to school. Who is losing during this period? Someone who has clearly pleaded guilty for bank fraud was enjoying his life in the US of A and had 190 million bank fraud. And even went to that same bank and was claiming 15 million francs CFA. Why one mama who is in one village and cannot afford a liter of palm oil to put in a vegetable is the one paying the price. I think that, Mr. Liu, let us sit as brothers. Cameroon is ours. Cameroon will always be ours. Let's look at each other in the face and tell ourselves that we made a mistake and it's time we corrected that mistake.
Okay, we made a mistake, but Mr. You are aspiring to be mayor of Boya. Are you very comfortable when during elections we are asked not to go and vote?
Yes, actually we are doing our best to make sure that that issue of us not going to vote should actually not have an impact, and we will be able to communicate positively with all Cameroonians, the separatists and even other Cameroonians to show them the need for us to get involved with our issues so that we will build up from there and be able to have a better solution. Not voting is not a solution. I think voting and putting people that will be able to carry the problems to government is better than to allow the problems lie there. And permit me to say that, using this same opportunity to say that many councils in many areas have lost a lot, because even the budget that they were supposed to have in order to carry on activities, credits that were supposed to be sent to certain councils that are in places where there are no activities, those places have lost. And I think that we should be wiser this time around as Anglophones to know that this war has not benefited us. This conflict has not benefited us. And it's time to look for a solution for this issue so that we bring it to an end once and for all. Nobody has benefited except those who have benefited illicitly or illegally. Yes, but in the true sense, this war is not necessary. We have better ways that we can present our problems to government. We have better ways that we can table our problem to government. And one of the ways I wish to say again is that Cameroonians should come out massively and vote for competent leaders that will be able to lead them and table their problems better to government. That is where now I wish to say it's very, very important for Cameroonians to vote in all parts of Cameroon. And we are also talking to all Cameroonians that it's high time for us to sit down and evaluate. We have benefited nothing from this conflict. Should we continue to in illusion, or should we continue to hope beyond hope? But I think that it's high time for us to sit down and look for the better way forward to address this issue and to make government to see us that we are serious once and for all. It is necessary. The time has passed where we have struggled within 10 years and we have not had anything. So it is high time we sit down as Anglophones at home and abroad and chart the way forward for our future.
Mr. Mosoke, I know you for a very long time now. What will push you to want to be the mayor of Buea?
Okay, well, that's a very good question which I was expecting. What pushed me to be mayor of Buea?
To want to be
A mayor of Buea is that I was trained about 8 years ago in issues of nation building and community development in South Africa. It was a crash program that costed us 12 million francs per person. It was a very serious program. And we were given one charge: go, use this knowledge and transform your country. Not even to transform your community, your country. Because the knowledge that they gave us is a knowledge that can be used to transform Cameroon within 5 years. If we are given opportunity to put it into play. So I thought it wise that Buea has been suffering a lot from so many things. I've been there. I'm not comfortable with so many things that are going on. And I think that I should not sit down with knowledge that I have and see my people perish. That's why I said, no, I will go in as an aspiring mayor for Buea in the upcoming elections. If I'm given the opportunity, voted in, then I will be able to bring whatsoever I have. And I also, in this same line, have a lot of partnership connections abroad that are ready also to come in and help if in case we succeed.
You went to South Africa. You gained knowledge and maybe skills on how to transform communities, and you want to be mayor. Before becoming a mayor, you must pass through a political party. Are you a politician today?
Yes. I'm under the banner of the United Socialist Democratic Party, that the USDP of Prince Ekoso. So I'm under, let me call it, as we know, opposition political party. Yes, and I'm trying to work on a document which I hope, if accepted, the name opposition can be changed.
To what?
Yes, to I'm trying not to really the cat out of the back, but I can still give a new name. Maybe we'll come back to that, because that name opposition, it looks like a name that does not build. Yes, it's a fight, there's some fight. Yes, so there's a new name that I wish to propose. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag now, but we'll surely still talk on this sometime here, so that I will explain why I came up with that, and if it will be accepted in the community of politics, it will only help. So that is my main reason for going in, is to help the people.
When you say lots of things are not going well in Buea, for example, what is not going well in Buea?
The town of Buea now is very dirty. You see dirt everywhere. There is a lot of problem with water. There's no water. Most of the public taps that we have been closed down for no good reason. We verified no good reason. The roads are very bad, and it's possible to at least walk on the simple roads that we have around. All the roads are bad. The drainage system is completely off the rails. There is a lot of epileptic energy in Buea and so on. So I think that, and the worst of it all is that the people are actually complaining that, do we truly have leaders in Buea? This is not the Buea that we knew. The Buea that had virtually everything. We cannot see Buea go down the drain like this. And that's why we are coming in, that we will be able to help the people of Buea and bring a new Buea. That's what we call the smart Buea, because we have a vision to make Buea the first smart city in Cameroon. We want to build Buea as the first smart city in Cameroon, so that from there other cities can copy from us, because we have the model of building a smart city in Cameroon, and we are starting with Buea. And as we all know, Buea was the former capital of the former British Southern Cameroon. So we should not make Buea to go down the drain. Let's give Buea the name it deserves. And the name it deserves is that we are building a smart Buea. We just hope and pray that Cameroonians should give us the trust and the confidence that we should take over the councils in Buea and be able to build a new Buea.
Glad to meet a new politician today, because that has been your cry. Everybody wants change, but nobody is ready to take the bullet. And I'm sure we are going to have an opportunity to receive you exclusively to talk about the big plans you have for Buea. Also, find out from you why you even got interested in politics, and whether you believe and you have what it takes to go through the political arena in Cameroon. You know what those tact opposition politicians have gone through in Cameroon. We hope and wish you the best. Dr. Nimancho, thank you for accepting to be part of tonight's edition of the program.
It was a pleasure, Mr. Kum, and special greetings to all the people of Noni, of course, Noni in general, because we are all one. And the people of Mr. J, of course, I never discriminate. And the people of Kumbunso in general, of course, we are the same people. We belong to the same division. And what happens to Jakiri happens to Noni. What happens to Kitium happens to Noni. What happens to Mbiam happens to Noni. So we pray and hope that, of course, that in the spirit of love in that land of Kadinatumi, that we may have renewed minds for peace, 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 as the Pope preached, and that we, of course, we should be exemplary, of course, that we don't destroy lives that we cannot build, and that this message to go to all the Anglophones, Southwest and Northwest, and that there may be flexibility in the search for dialogue. We all need to be flexible. It is not everything that you want, that you are given, but then love what your brother has that is good and give in. And I think that we're building a better Cameroon. And nice to meet a new politician. We are going to be screening him. I hope that he's not coming like others.
Okay, good evening, Pakum and members of the panel. I am worried again that Shishon Hospital, another legacy in the Anglophone region, has been taken out. We're going to do a special edition. I think we'll look at, we have the Presbyterian schools that are also springing up. There is PCS somewhere in Lenzi here. There's another one that was constructed in the Central region last year, and many more are coming this way. I don't know how enthusiastic the people across this way are ready to send their children to the Lord, to the Baptist schools in Bamenda and Buea, to Bishop Rogan and Sase, to St. Augustine in Seoul, to St. Peter's College. All of these schools, yes. thousands of children were going that way, and we're going to be doing a special edition on that. Thank you for coming, Prince.
Salio, it's always a privilege being on your platform. I want to appreciate all those who took time, energy, and resources to follow us. Lots of messages came in. My condolences to those who lost their loved ones in Jakiri. I'm sending greetings as usual to the peace-loving people of Misaje subdivision who have always stood and have always stood behind their number one elite. I encourage all of them to always do that. And to the Muslim community in Misaje, because we are one and indivisible in that subdivision, to their shepherd, Sariki Modibala, I say I'm greeting you, and to President Aliteku in Misaje subdivision. Thank you very much, Mr. Liu.
Mr. Mokose, we want to thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. This is my first edition, and I have been following Prime Hour always. I'm always at home following it because it's actually bringing a lot of persons on board, which is really, really what we want. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope that I'll come again. Thank you so much.
Yes, we are also looking forward to a day where we are going to receive you alone to talk especially about your interest in politics and what you have for the people of Aboya. Thank you to Eli for production and to all of you for watching. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.